r/AskReddit. Lucassi14 says, Hoss, how TF have they not been fired? Coworker, and what have they done to earn that title? Captain Coco Koala says, worked for a company that tested soil samples for mining companies. Each test had to be given 0.002 within 0.0001 of a gram of a white substance, can't remember what it was called. So the company wins a massive contract and there is a lot of work to be done, too much for the lab, so they start falling behind. The manager/accountant tells everyone that to speed things up you are to put 0.02 within 0.005 of a gram instead. Do you know how long it takes to measure out 0.002 of a gram? But the results all come back wrong and the mining company wastes $300 million mining for copper that wasn't there and successfully sue us. 300 people lost their job, which was 50% of the company's workforce. Manager who made the bad call didn't lose his job as he denied he told everyone to make the gram change, even though there were about 30 witnesses who said he told them directly. I started work at this company about 2 years after this event. I have never heard so much abuse and vitriol about a person as this manager. Nobody in the company had any respect for him and treated him with absolute disdain. There were signs on the doors of some labs telling him he was banned from entering. People used to tell him to F off in the corridor as they walked past him. I tried to stay neutral, but when I heard what happened. Blippity Blue 72 says, that dude knew something really bad about someone high up in that company. But review 8,675,309 says, the old keep someone out of jail card instead of the more familiar get someone out of jail card. Shabalaba says, I work in a hospital. She frequently touches patients with unclean gloves. She unleashed a fart so bad in a patient's room that the patient actually asked her to leave and not return to their room. Aside from that instance, she has been fired from numerous patients' rooms for a variety of reasons. She doesn't manage her time well at all and fails to get her assigned patient baths done. Most recently she was caught touching a patient with an uncommunicable disease without gloves, and she was interacting with an unclean specimen collection pan from the same patient, again, without gloves. I felt bad for her at first, because it felt like everyone mercilessly bullied her, but she sorta deserves it at this point. Rust Blooms says, my friend is a massage therapist and told me about one day when she ate collard greens and then had gas when she was with a client. I was just like, oh, that sucks. How awkward, until we went on a trip together and she ate collard greens and it's, frick, I'm biological warfare, and if I was her client I would have gotten off the table and left. Never free never me says, some healthcare workers are just awful. I was at the hospice care with my wife, who was with her dying mother. Her mother was heavily sedated, and it was a matter of hours before she would pass away. An orderly walks into the room and exclaims, oh, she doesn't look that sick. I told that woman to leave immediately and that I would be having a chat with the head nurse. What's worse is she never understood what she did wrong. Atl Sportsspinner says, this pales in comparison to some of these, but I have a current coworker who doesn't attend team meetings, doesn't log much in the system, posts on LinkedIn several times a day, and has her open to work banner up. She called out our boss at a large company-wide meeting and completely blew off our yearly team on site last week. She joined for the SEER portion of the meeting and was on her phone the whole time. I kinda love it, because as long as they're around, I'll never have the heat on me. Parcelpastid says, I have someone like this, and she also serves as my don't give me shit look at her person. Wagdog1970 says, always good to have that guy around to keep yourself looking good by comparison. Pusfaledonet says, I worked in corporate America, Fortune 500. I have too many stories to tell, but one stands out to me. Corporate headquarters in a $80 million building Has a master electrician who has been there 40 years and knows where all the bodies are buried. I install a bunch of upstream backup offline battery systems in server closets, 40, at about 5k a pop. The units required a 30 amp breaker and receptacle with correct gauge wiring. The master electrician changes my spec without saying a word, calls out for 20 amp breakers, since that's what was already there and available, and after my install is complete, he goes back in, whacks the 30A cable ends off the ups, and installs a 20A hubble. Now the ups won't provide maximum runtime under load, and he has voided the warranty on $200k worth of ups systems. The Ashat spends a month arguing with higher ups that his opinion supersedes physics, and I finally get the manufacturer to send a "you bought it, you name it" letter. I eventually have to yank all 40 units, replace the correct cable end, and get a sign off from the manufacturer they will still honor their 5-year warranties. Problem solved. 3 months later, same site, a $400,000 end loader goes missing. Vanished. It pops up at the master electrician's farm parked in the back 40, and he explains that he took it home to do some maintenance, despite having no heavy machinery experience and staying silent while everyone was frantically looking for the end loader. No one fires the guy. 2 months later, he gets arrested for his 3rd DUI, and the C-suite crowd intervenes with the courts and cops, and he gets probation. Kept his job another year, and then retired with full benefits and a huge pension. When a Sui says, "Wow." Going by that story, he literally knew where several bodies were buried. There's absolutely no reason to keep such a huge liability otherwise. That's quite a story. r/AskReddit. Tuvaskold says, "What is the craziest thing you've seen at a birthday party?" Charming Neighbor says, "Once, my buddy on acid climbed a tree, announced he was a giraffe, and ate maple leaves for about an hour." Yummy Honey 204 says, "My college neighbors were having a party once, and they kicked someone out. The guy came back and started trying to kick down the door. Someone at the party ended up stabbing the guy in the leg. My friends and I were on the front stoop watching all this unfold. Last I heard/saw the guy, he was running down the street with one shoe on the phone screaming, 'I'm leaking dog, I'm leaking.'" Adorable Princess says, "I saw a guy attempt to snort a shot of tequila. His face turned tomato red and tears were streaming down his face while he was suffocating. I seriously thought he was going to die." Kimberly Keegan 21 says, "My sister got too drunk at a party. She fell into a bonfire and egg-loved her left hand. Unfortunate." Lavelle Princess 201 says, "Kid randomly walked out of a party we were having. He was blacked out and nobody heard from him for a while. Got a call about 2 hours later from a taxi driver on his phone. Apparently our friend asked to go to the airport and didn't have his wallet to pay, so the driver was about to kick him out on the side of the road. He came back with a whole bottle of vodka and still no wallet." Fat Nino says, "Had one kid, he was definitely under the drinking age at the time, get so shit-faced that he went outside to get air and just, frick, ein vanished. The rest of us were too drunk and stupid to follow up on it. Well, he turned up the next day at an O where they had to pump his stomach. A random passerby found him sleeping on the sidewalk, somehow intuited that he wasn't just one of the regular homeless folk who sleep on the street, and called 911. Super scary since the place he was found was a 2-hour walk from where the party was. He remembers nothing." Adorable Sheen 02X says, "Myself and about 30 other people witnessed a really intoxicated girl grind herself to climax on the arm of the couch." Zixtildamansk says, "One guy brought a turtle he saw on the side of the road. He set it on the pool table and it just walked around all night." Ex-Mothman Bridarima says, "The husband of the birthday gal became too drunk to stand He was a big man, had to be carried into an adjacent room to piss in a bucket as there was no way he could be safely carried any further to an actual toilet. The birthday gal was then required to get the penis out of the trousers and aim it into the bucket. Own Economist 9444 says, one of the craziest things I've seen at a birthday party was a surprise appearance by a celebrity impersonator who convinced everyone they were the real deal. It caused quite a stir until the big reveal, and it made the party unforgettable. Thetrapibri says, at my cousin's birthday party, there was a magician who accidentally set his costume on fire during a trick. Bad Girl off Brick City says, at my husband's 25th birthday party, we watched one of his friends fall into the bonfire, twice. He had a nasty bruise on the side of his face the next day, but miraculously avoided getting burned. Drive Coach 7634 says, walked in the door to a house off to the left, where the dining room should have been. There was now a queen-size bed that was suspended from the ceiling with industrial-sized chains. On the bed was a very attractive naked woman with an eyes wide shut kind of mask on. She had lines of cocaine all over her, and party guests would just come help themselves. I helped myself to a right labia line, and followed that up with a key bump in the bathroom about 2 hours later with the same woman. Great night from what I remember. Late 90s was a magical time. Broken77 says, this was when we were all adults. Let me clarify, it was a girl's birthday and we went out for drinks at a restaurant and then her house for the party. For some reason the restaurant food was making us all gassy because people were cutting SBDs all night at her house and no one wanted to fess up to it. So her boyfriend at the time brought her a cake, we all sang happy birthday, and right at the end her boyfriend pulls down his pants, points his bare butt at her, and rips a loud, raunchy fart at her which ended up being a shart, and he painted her with diarrhea. My god, did she scream like a banshee. Perpetual Warbird says, this is a fake story. He has fart fetish content in his history. Kings says, what point the point actual frick? Did I just read? That's all for this video. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.